This is a book review of Range. We are Accessory to Success, a website for authors, business enthusiasts, book lovers, writers, all that kind of stuff. We have a weekly email we send out, book recommendations, book releases, reviews, takeaways from all these great business books. Go to the website, check out that newsletter, subscribe, and there's also a lot of other book recommendations in this review, and there's links to all of those in the blog post as well. Now let's move into the main takeaway for Range. In an evolving world, choosing one's vocational path early while pursuing a specialized expertise has become increasingly passé. Instead, start later, dabble freely, and learn to make connections and recognize patterns whenever possible. In other words, cultivate range. Here's some bullet point takeaways of what you'll learn in this book. A narrow focus can hinder you, not help. Expertise can emerge from experimentation as much as specialization. Don't fear difficult lessons. Learn slowly and it will stick. Wide experiences and interests incubate innovation. Predictions are often made by specialists who can't see the forest for the trees and are wrong more often than you think. Becoming a generalist will require you to rethink your ideas regarding knowledge and achievement. Now on to the main book summary. The book Grit and Outliers bring to mind images of grim-faced determination and hours upon hours of practice. While representing one avenue to success, it is by no means the only one. In an increasingly complicated world, we are being asked to do more and with greater flexibility than ever before. Enter David Epstein in Range, Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. Epstein offers a contrary view, drawing on an array of research and examples ranging from sports to science to chess and firefighting. Epstein argues that while narrowing one's expertise remains relevant to some specialized fields, in most endeavors, generalists persevere. Thus, this book will interest both business magnates and school teachers. Epstein's advocacy of flexibility, creativity, and knowledge transfer might be called the anti-grit approach, or in other words, range. This is a unique perspective, and another book to read on this is Ready, Fire, Aim. Epstein commences with a comparison of the careers of Tiger Woods and Roger Federer, the two giants of golf and tennis. This neatly sets up a major theme found throughout the book. While the cult of the head start and focused training have their merits, as in the case of Woods, one can not only succeed but flourish by experimenting with different approaches, and even by starting later in life, as in the example with Federer. Indeed, our environment itself may call the tune. Early in the book, Epstein draws a distinction between the two types of situations that one might find themselves in. In a kind working environment, intense and early practice pays dividends. A great book on building this environment is Quiet Leadership. In these fields, which tend to reward narrow focus and a mastery of specific body of knowledge or best practices, the grit approach endures. In fact, we tend to lionize the athletes, musicians, and scientists, which are its products or prodigies, overlooking the unseen hours of research or practice that makes their achievements a reality. Yet, as Epstein points out, many do not live or work in a kind world. Borrowing a term from the social sciences, Epstein points out that most live in a wicked environment, one with ever-changing rules and expectations. Here, those possessing range, the result of following numerous passions and interests, will build a larger, broader set of skills that will enable them to deal with the unforeseen. This is especially true for entrepreneurs, as mentioned in the book The Messy Middle. One example will suffice from the many Epstein draws upon. Chess, by definition, has long been a pastime fashioned by a kind environment. Its rules do not change and pattern recognition is highly prized. But what happens when you introduce computers into the mix? Grandmaster chess player Garry Kasparov faced this dilemma when playing against the computer program Big Blue in 1997. Kasparov lost, but to his credit, he thought outside the box. Kasparov envisioned a way to defeat an AI that could access instantly millions of potential chess moves. He realized that creativity could outflank such a foe, and the freestyle chess movement in which players team up with computers to employ the strengths of both was born. Such teamwork and leveraging unique creative versus analytical minds is discussed in great detail in the books Loon Shots and Traction. However, note the larger lesson. Kasparov intuited that the game no longer operated solely in a kind environment. The introduction of AI transformed even the staid world of chess into a wicked environment. Epstein presents many examples in which possessing range leads to greater success in work and general happiness in life. One might think, for example, that the most successful comic book artists are those who draw the same title repeatedly. According to a study of thousands of comic books, the most financially and creatively successful tend to be drawn by generalists. That is, artists who had drawn everything from superhero comics to romances. A great book to read about trying new things is Poke the Box by Seth Godin. Working from a wider palette of experience, these artists created more memorable and daring work. Although not mentioned by Epstein, the career of legendary penciler Jack Kirby bears this observation out. As mentioned, Epstein here addresses a general audience, and not just a business-oriented one. Those readers might be more interested in the book's last 2 chapters, which feature an array of examples taken from case studies that will be familiar to anyone in the MBA program. Otherwise, readers will enjoy Epstein's accessible prose style. The only caveat is that with so many studies, anecdotes, and stories presented, at times range is a challenge to digest. Pace yourself. Absorb its ideas one example at a time and consider how you might implement them. After all, finding range requires developing the ability to take lessons as you find them. About the author, David Epstein. David is a journalist and currently an investigative reporter for ProPublica. Formerly a senior writer for Sports Illustrated, in 2013 he published his first book, the New York Times bestseller, The Sports Gene, which explored the links between athletes' training and genetics. Epstein has stated that researching how athletes succeed led him to greater questions with regard to success itself. This became the germ of an idea that eventually led to the 2019 publication of Range. Epstein's 2014 TED Talk, Are Athletes Really Getting Faster, Better, and Stronger?, has received over 8 million views to date, a link to which was tweeted out by Bill Gates. Epstein earned a master's degree in environmental science and journalism from Columbia University. In 2003, Epstein broke the story that baseball player Alex Rodriguez tested positive for steroids. Epstein is also no stranger to the academic world, having co-authored a research article published in the Journal of Arctic, Antarctic, and Alpine Research in 2013. This has been a book review of Range. We are Accessory to Success. There's been a lot of other book recommendations in this review. You can find links to all of those in the blog post. Feel free to subscribe to our newsletter if you like this kind of content. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next review.